Elizabeth Carter was sitting in the back of her father's Mercedes. The city lights of Manhattan were going by fast outside the tinted windows. She had her hands all tangled up together in her lap. Elizabeth Carter was 24 years old. She had always thought that this day would come sooner or later. Elizabeth Carter knew that thinking about something and actually living it are not the same thing at all. Her father, Richard Carter, said from the driver's seat, "Remember what we talked about?" His voice sounded really serious, like when he's in big meetings. The Westbrook family is very important to the Carter family. They want to get into the energy business. This marriage will help the Carter family. The marriage to someone from the Westbrook family will make sure the Carter family does well in the future. Elizabeth nodded. She did not trust her voice. Elizabeth had finished school at Columbia with a degree in literature, and her dream was to open her publishing house, a publishing house where Elizabeth could publish the books she loved. Now Elizabeth was being treated like something you send in the mail just to make a business deal happen, a deal that involved Elizabeth. The Westbrook estate in the Hamptons was really something. It had stone walls and pretty gardens that people took care of every day. Elizabeth felt sick to her stomach as they got to the door. A butler came out to meet them. He did not look unhappy. He just looked very serious. The butler took them inside the Westbrook estate. They walked down halls that were made of marble. The walls had expensive pictures on them. The Westbrook estate was full of things. Elizabeth saw all the art at the Westbrook estate, and she felt a little overwhelmed. The dining room was really big with a table that could fit 30 people. Only 5 chairs had people sitting in them. Harrison Westbrook sat at the head of the table. He was a man in his 60s, with hair, and his eyes were very sharp, like he was very smart and had worked hard to get where he was. Harrison Westbrook had built a company from nothing. To the right of Harrison Westbrook sat a man. He got up from his chair when Elizabeth walked into the room. The man looked at her, said, "You must be Elizabeth." He was smiling at her in a friendly way. "I'm Daniel Westbrook," he said to her. This man was good-looking, but not in a typical way. He had brown hair that fell down across his forehead, and his eyes were a gentle hazel color. Elizabeth saw that he was wearing a blazer over a white shirt. She also noticed that there was paint under the fingernails of the man. The man and Elizabeth shook hands. She felt friendly towards the man, but that was all. The man looked like someone who liked art because he was wearing a blazer and had paint under his fingernails. Elizabeth just felt polite friendliness when she shook the man's hand. Harrison said, "This is my son, Alexander. He is really my son, Alexander, and I am very proud of him. My eldest son, Alexander." Elizabeth turned around. Her heart just stopped beating. She was really surprised, did not know what to do. Elizabeth felt like something was wrong. She was getting really scared. Elizabeth thought about what was happening to her. She could not move at all. Alexander Westbrook was standing by the window. He had a glass of scotch in his hand. Alexander Westbrook was a tall guy, way over 6 feet. He had hair that was styled back from his face. His face was like it was made of rock. It was so strong. Alexander Westbrook had eyes that were really piercing. They seemed to look right through her. He was wearing a navy suit that fit him perfectly. The suit made his shoulders look really broad and his build look powerful and lean. Alexander Westbrook looked like a strong man. When Elizabeth's eyes met his, she felt like the floor was moving under her feet. There was something about the way they looked at each other. It was like they knew something that nobody else did. This feeling was really weird. It felt like it was meant to be. For a second, nothing else mattered, just Elizabeth and this person. The rest of the world just disappeared. Then Alexander looked away. His jaw got a little tighter. "Welcome," he said. His voice was really deep. He sounded like he was in charge. He just stood there. He did not go to shake her hand. The dismissal really hurt me. It felt like someone had hit me. The dismissal was very painful to deal with. I was upset about the dismissal. Dinner was really tough for Elizabeth. She was stuck between her father and Daniel at the table. Daniel was sitting next to her, and he was being very nice and talkative. He told her all about the art gallery he was in charge of in Soho. The art gallery in Soho was something Daniel was very passionate about. He was super excited about a show that was coming up soon. It was going to have a lot of modern sculptures. Elizabeth tried to pay attention to what Daniel was saying because he was easy to talk to. Daniel was a lot of fun to listen to, especially when he talked about the art gallery in Soho and the new exhibition of sculpture that was going to be there. Daniel said this in a voice when nobody was talking. "I am sorry about all this," he said. "The thing about the marriage that was set up for me. It is old-fashioned, is it not? The arranged marriage thing, I mean." Elizabeth really liked that he was being honest with her. "Completely," she said. "He said that maybe we can be friends at least. We should make the best of it. Being friends is better than nothing, so we can try to make the best of it with our friendship." She had a smile on her face, and she really liked him as a person. He was the kind of man who would make some woman very happy to be his wife. That woman was not going to be her. Her eyes kept drifting across the table. Alexander barely said a word. He only spoke when someone spoke to him directly. He talked to Elizabeth's father about the reports, and he talked to his own father about what they thought the market would do. But Alexander never looked at Elizabeth again. He just did not look at Elizabeth. She could not notice things about him. The way his fingers tapped on his water glass when he was thinking about something. He did this when he was deep in thought. The way his eyebrows came together when Harrison talked about the merger that was coming up. He always sat up straight and never let his feelings show, because he thought that would make him seem weak. She noticed the way he controlled his emotions, the way he held himself, always being careful not to let his feelings get the best of him. Always being in control of the merger and his emotions. About the merger. "Alexander is in charge of the company," Harrison said. "Alexander has been the CEO of the company for 5 years now. He has done a job. The company is making a lot of money because of Alexander. Alexander has actually doubled the revenue of the company. On the hand, Daniel likes to do creative things. Daniel is really into the pursuits. He likes that kind of stuff." Daniel said this with a laugh. He really thinks that someone has to bring culture to the family. The family needs this. Daniel believes that someone has to bring culture to the family. Alexander's lips curled up a little, which was as close as he got to smiling all night. This small movement made Elizabeth's heart beat fast. After dinner was over, Harrison said the men should go have some brandy and smoke cigars. Then Daniel said to Elizabeth he would like to show her the gardens of going with the men. People walked through the paths. The paths were lit by the lights that were not too bright. They saw fountains, rose bushes as they walked. The air in the spring was cool. It smelled really good because of the jasmine that was blooming. Daniel said to me, "Can I be honest with you? Please." He told her that he did not want this marriage any more than she did. He said this in a soft voice. "The thing is, he is in love with someone." Elizabeth stopped walking. She said, "What?" "Her name is Sofia Martinez. She is a curator at the Museum of Modern Art. We have been together for 2 years. His face softened when he spoke Sofia Martinez's name. "I have been trying to find a way to tell my father about Sofia Martinez. He is so set on this merger with another company, and I do not know how to bring it up." Feelings of relief and sympathy came over Elizabeth. She said, "Why do you not just tell him?" "Because he will disown me." Daniel sighed. The Westbrook legacy means everything to him. Alexander carries that burden, being the perfect son, the perfect CEO of Westbrook. I am the disappointment who wastes time with my art. That is what I am to him, a disappointment, to the Westbrook legacy. Art isn't a waste. Try telling him that, she said. Daniel looked at her in a way. Maybe we could help each other out, he said. We could go through with the engagement. That would buy me some time to figure out what is going on with the engagement and what we should do about it. Before Elizabeth could say anything, a voice came out of the dark. Elizabeth, your father is ready to go. He wants to leave. Your father is waiting for you. Alexander was standing at the edge of the garden path. The lights from the house were shining behind him. Elizabeth could not see what his face looked like. The way Alexander was talking was really cold. Daniel said that he will walk her back. I will do it. That was not a suggestion. Daniel squeezed Elizabeth's hand. Then he went toward the house. Elizabeth was left standing all by herself with Alexander. Her heart was beating fast. She could feel it in her throat. Elizabeth was very scared. Her pulse was hammering in her. throat as she stood there with Alexander. Alexander and the other person walked in silence for steps. Then Alexander said something. Daniel is a person, but he's not very strong. Daniel will never stand up to our father. I think Daniel is afraid of what our father might say or do. Our father can be very mean. Daniel does not like to fight with him. Daniel is a kind person, and he wants everyone to be happy. Elizabeth said this before she could stop herself. Maybe. Being kind is not being weak. Alexander stopped walking. Looked at her for the first time since they had dinner. Her face was really close to his now. His eyes were even more intense than she thought. They were a gray color with little bits of silver in them. He said in the world that Alexander and her lived in, this is how things are. It is a way to live. This kind of life is really sad. Living like that is very sad. The life is just sad. Something changed in his face for a second. It was gone before I could figure out what it was. You will learn. I do not want to learn that thing. Learning that is not something I want to do. That is just not interesting to me. I would rather do something than learn that. He told me that I would suffer. He said this in a straightforward way without being mean. The merger between our families is worth a lot of money. $300 million. My father really needs this to happen. His father really wants this to happen. What the merger between our families is worth $300 million is what is important. My father needs the merger between our families to happen. His father wants the merger between our families to happen. What we want, my desire and his desire, does not matter when it comes to the merger. It's between our families. This thing should really matter to people. It is very important that people think about it and understand why it should matter. The fact that it should matter is something that people need to consider. It should matter. He said that. It did not make sense. He took a step closer to Elizabeth. She could smell the nice smell of his cologne. It was something that cost a lot of money and smelled like trees. He told Elizabeth Carter to go home. He said she should marry his brother and do what people expect her to do. That is what we all have to do, he said. That is all any of us can really do. Play the part that people think we should play. Like Elizabeth Carter playing her part, the man walked away from her. He left her standing by herself in the garden. She had tears that were burning behind her eyes. The garden was a place, but it did not seem beautiful to her at that moment, because the man had walked away. From her, she did not cry. Instead, she put her hand on her chest because her heart was hurting much for the man she had just met. This man was someone who would never belong to her. The man she had just met was not going to be hers. That night, Elizabeth was lying in her childhood bedroom back in the city where she grew up. She stared at the ceiling. She finally accepted the truth that was hard to accept. Elizabeth had fallen in love with Alexander Westbrook the moment she saw him. That was a big problem because Elizabeth was promised to marry Alexander, Westbrook's brother. The next 3 months would be the longest of her life. The scandal broke on a Tuesday morning in June. It was a Tuesday morning when the news of the scandal came out. The scandal was over the place on that Tuesday morning. In June, Elizabeth was sitting in her father's study with a cup of coffee when the phone started ringing. The look on her father's face changed fast. It went from being totally calm to very red in a few seconds. Elizabeth saw the whole thing happen to her father's face. Her father's study was a place, but the ringing phone made it feel different. Richard Cart was really upset when he said, "What do you mean he got married?" into the phone. He wanted to know who the man married. Richard Carter asked to who? Because he was surprised. Then he asked when? Because he wanted to know when the wedding happened. Richard Carter he really wanted to know about the marriage. Elizabeth's coffee cup stopped moving in the middle of going to her mouth. She was about to take a sip of her coffee when this happened to Elizabeth's coffee cup. Elizabeth was really looking forward to drinking that coffee from Elizabeth's coffee cup. Her father was listening on the phone. His hands were really tight around it. He said, "I see. Yes. We will talk about this when we are face to face." Then he hung up the phone. Looked at Elizabeth. The look on his face was something she had never seen before. It was like he was really scared, like something was really wrong. Elizabeth saw panic on her father's face. Daniel Westbrook got married to his girlfriend Knight. It was a ceremony. There is a lady, her name is Sophia Martinez. She works at a museum. Daniel Westbrook and his girlfriend are now husband and wife. The ceremony was really private. That is why not many people were there. Sophia Martinez was one of the people who were invited to the ceremony of Daniel Westbrook. The cup fell from Elizabeth's fingers. It broke into pieces on the hardwood floor. This did not make Elizabeth feel shocked or disappointed. What really made Elizabeth's hand shake was the fact that she felt hope. This hope was a thing, and it was also very scary for Elizabeth. The hope that Elizabeth felt was terrible. It was dangerous for her. Her father was walking back and forth saying something about the merger. He had been working on this for 3 months. They had been talking about it for a time. The papers were not signed yet. If the Westbrooks decide they do not want to do it, her family will be in big trouble. Her father had borrowed money from people thinking the merger was going to happen. The people who gave him money, the investors, will want it back. The merger is very important to her family. If it does not happen, they will lose the merger and all the money. Elizabeth could hardly hear what he was saying. Her mind was thinking about all the things that could happen. She did not even want to think about saying these things loud. Elizabeth was really worried about what might happen with Elizabeth and the people around her. Richard told me to get dressed. We are going to the Westbrook estate. Richard said we have to go. The Westbrook estate is where we are going. The drive to the Hamptons felt really weird. Elizabeth had on a plain navy dress. Her hair was pulled back. She did not have any makeup on. You could see the circles under her eyes. Elizabeth had not slept well in a time, not since that first dinner, when Alexander Westbrook looked at her in a way that made her feel like she was everything and nothing at the same time. The Hamptons trip was supposed to be fun. Elizabeth was still thinking about Alexander Westbrook and the way he made her feel. Elizabeth thought about Alexander Westbrook a lot. The Westbrook mansion looked the same as it always did. You could feel the tension in the air when you were inside. A maid showed them the way to Harrison's study. They went in. Found the man of the house, Harrison, sitting behind his huge desk. His face was really serious. It looked like it was made of stone. The Westbrook mansion had a feeling that day. The tension was around the Westbrook mansion. Alexander was standing by the window with his back to the room. He had on charcoal slacks and a white shirt. The sleeves of the shirt were rolled up. You could see his strong forearms. When Elizabeth saw Alexander, her heart did something. It skipped a beat. Alexander looked really good. Elizabeth's heart was being very disloyal to her. Alexander was still standing, looking calm and cool, wearing those charcoal slacks and that white shirt. Richard, Harrison said in a serious tone. He was very sincere when he said thank you to Richard for coming. Richard asked where Daniel was. He is on his honeymoon, it seems. He left a note that said he was sorry, and that he will be back in a week. Harrison's voice was full of disgust. A note is all my son left me after 28 years. My son leaves me a note, can you believe that? Richard started talking about the merger. Harrison said that the person is dead. Unless that is not true. The word hung in the air. Elizabeth felt that Alexander turned away from the window. She felt Alexander's eyes on her. Elizabeth refused to look at Alexander. Richard said, "What do you mean?" He asked this very carefully. Unless what was going to happen, that is what Richard wanted to know. He really needed to know what the person was talking about when they said, unless. Richard asked the question again. Unless what was going to happen? I have a daughter. You have another son. Harrison leaned back in his chair. My daughter and your son, Alexander, could be a pair. Alexander is really the match for my daughter when you think about it. Alexander runs the company, so the merger between our families would be even stronger with Alexander as the connection. Between our families, Elizabeth's heart stopped beating. Then it started beating, pounding really hard. She thought that everyone around her must be able to hear her heart pounding. It was beating that loud. Elizabeth's heart was pounding hard in her chest. Harrison said that Alexander has already agreed to this. Alexander is on board with what we're talking about. Harrison just told us that Alexander has already given his okay. So Elizabeth looked at Alexander. Alexander's face was totally empty. His gray eyes did not show any emotion. Alexander nodded. It was a movement of Alexander's head, but it showed that Alexander was completely in charge of the situation. Her father said, "Elizabeth, she should tell them no. She should get up from her chair. Run out of this room. She should never look back." Alexander did not want her. Alexander made it very clear that he did not want her 3 months ago when they were in the garden. If she marries Alexander, it will be a marriage that's all about business. She will spend her life loving Alexander, but Alexander will just see her as someone he has to take care of because of a contract. When she finally opened her mouth to say something, the only thing that came out was this one word. Yes, Alexander's jaw got tight. This was the way you could tell he had heard what was said. "Then it is settled," Harrison said. "We need to do this because of what is happening. I think we should have a ceremony for the wedding in 2 weeks. The wedding ceremony should be simple and quiet." 2 weeks was all Elizabeth had now. She used to have 3 months to get ready for a wedding to the wrong brother. Now everything is different. Elizabeth has to get married in 2 weeks to the brother. The problem is that the right brother does not want to marry Elizabeth. The next 14 days went by fast. Elizabeth did not see Alexander much. He sent her a message. With all the things he had to do, like trying on his tuxedo, tasting the cake, and talking to the person who was going to marry them, every time they talked, it was like they were just people working together, not like they were getting married. Elizabeth and Alexander were planning their wedding. It felt like they were just planning a big business deal. The night before the wedding, Elizabeth's mother helped Elizabeth pack her things. Elizabeth was getting ready for the day, and her mother was making sure Elizabeth had everything she needed. Catherine Carter said, "Are you really sure about this?" as she put a silk nightgown in the suitcase. She looked at the person she was talking to and said, "You do not love him. Catherine Carter thinks this." Catherine Carter was trying to make a point about the man they were talking about, so she said it again. "You do not love him," Elizabeth said softly. The thing is, she thought to herself she really does. Elizabeth loves him much that it actually hurts her to breathe when he is in the same room. As Elizabeth, the wedding was held in a chapel at the Westbrook estate. This was a private thing, so only the people who were really close to them were there. Elizabeth wore a white dress. She had a bunch of white roses in her hand. There was no veil or long train on her dress. The wedding of Elizabeth was really about the two people getting married. It was not a big romantic thing. It was more like the Westbrook. A state wedding was a business arrangement. For Elizabeth and the other person, the wedding was a business arrangement. Alexander stood at the altar wearing a suit. He looked very calm. Elizabeth walked down the aisle with her father. Alexander watched Elizabeth as she walked towards him. His face did not show how he was feeling. Alexander was still looking at Elizabeth. The wedding ceremony was really short. Alexander and his bride said the traditional wedding vows in voices that were very steady. When the minister said they could kiss, Alexander bent down, kissed his bride for just 3 seconds. The kiss was simple and proper. It did not mean anything to Alexander and his bride. Alexander and his bride went through the motions. Elizabeth felt something strange. It was like a shock that went through her whole body. This shock was like electricity. It made her knees feel very weak. The feeling of electricity was everywhere. It was not just in one place. It was over her. The reception was really small. It was dinner with their families. Alexander was sitting next to Elizabeth. His thigh was touching hers under the table. He did not move his thigh away from hers. Elizabeth could not figure out if Alexander was doing this on purpose or if it was just because the chairs were really close together. Alexander and Elizabeth were sitting in a way that made it hard for her to tell what was going on. Elizabeth was thinking about Alexander and the way he was sitting next to her. It was finally over. Alexander's driver took them to his place in Tribeca. This was a nice penthouse, with big windows that went all the way from the floor to the ceiling. The view was great. You could see the Hudson River from there, Alexander said to me. Your room is down that hall, and he pointed to the left. His room is in the direction. There are 3 guest rooms between your room and Alexander's room if you want to be away. From Alexander's room, Elizabeth stood in the middle of the living room still holding her bouquet. She said Alexander because she was thinking about Alexander. Elizabeth wanted to talk to Alexander. Alexander, she said again, hoping Alexander would hear her. The man. He had his back to the woman. I am wondering why you said yes to this thing. You agreed to this? I do not understand why. What made you decide to go along with this? For a long time he just did not say anything. Then he said, for the reason you did. It is because of duty. Is that all? He turned around then. Something in his eyes made her stop breathing for a moment. He walked over to her fast, taking only 3 big steps, and then his hands were touching her. Hair in his mouth was pressed against hers. The way the romance novels describe a kiss, that is what the girl was. Experiencing with him the romance novels, that she loves to read the romance novels that are about love and kisses, and the girl was feeling all of that with him. This kiss was really different from the one they shared at the altar. It was like they were starving for each other. 3 months of trying to stay from each other just came pouring out. Elizabeth gasped as his lips touched hers, and he quickly took control, his tongue going into her mouth. She let go of the flowers, grabbed his shoulders with her hands. The kiss was desperate. It felt like they could not get enough of each other. Elizabeth and the man were completely lost in the Elizabeth and the man's kiss. Alexander kissed Elizabeth like he was drowning. She was the only thing that could save him. He really needed her. His hands were over the place. They went from her hair to her waist, and then he pulled her against him. Elizabeth could feel Alexander's body. It was so hard. She could feel that Alexander wanted her. It was clear that Alexander desired her. He walked the woman backward until the woman's back hit the wall. The man's mouth moved to the woman's neck, the man's teeth grazing the woman's pulse point. He wanted to do this since the moment he saw her. Now he was telling her that. He said this against her skin in a voice. The moment he saw her was when he knew what he wanted to do. He was doing it now. He was telling her how he felt. He was right against her skin. He was speaking in a low voice. He wanted her to know that he wanted to do this since the moment he saw her. The man was being very honest with the woman. He was saying what was on his mind. The woman was his woman. He was telling her something. He was telling her that he wanted her, and he was saying it against her skin. She said, then why did you not do it with a lot of surprise, he said. You are my brothers, and his hand started to unzip her dress. You belong to me now. You are mine now, mine. The words sent shivers down her spine. Yours, she said, and her voice was barely loud enough to hear because she was breathing hard. He carried her to his bedroom. They spent their wedding night all tangled up together. They were learning about each other. They used their hands and mouths to figure things out. They whispered words to each other. These words sounded like they were sharing secrets. The wedding night was a time for wedding night things, like getting to know the person, and they were doing just that, learning about each other on their wedding night. The morning Elizabeth woke up, and she was by herself. She walked into the kitchen, found Alexander there. He was wearing a suit and drinking coffee. Alexander was also reading something on his tablet. The woman said morning in a really quiet voice. He looked up. His face was totally closed off. Morning. The warmth she felt from him night was gone, and now the cold businessman she had first met was back. The man started talking. About night, he said. Fear filled her stomach. She said, do not. He said it was a mistake. The attraction between them was only physical, nothing than that. His voice sounded really detached, like a doctor or something. This is still a business arrangement, Elizabeth, he told her. What happened between us will not happen again, he said about what happened with Elizabeth. The words hit me like slaps. Someone said, you are lying. The words of your lying really hit me, he said. I am being honest. Then he put down his coffee. We got married because it is good for our business. Let us not make it complicated by getting emotional about it. He looked at his wife, said, we are married for business reasons. That is all. You said that I belong to you. You told me that I am yours. He told her what men usually say when they are in a spot. He would not look at her. The words men say in the moment, they did not mean anything to him. The words men say in the moment were just that, words men say in the moment. Elizabeth stood there in his shirt that she had pulled on. After he had touched every part of her body and she felt something break inside her chest. Elizabeth felt really strange. The shirt was big on her. It was his. Elizabeth thought about what he had done to her. He had touched her all over. Now Elizabeth felt like something was broken inside her. She did not know what to do. Elizabeth just stood there in his shirt. The woman told him to get out. She said it quietly. "This is my apartment." Then she said, "I will leave." She turned around, walked towards the bedroom with as much dignity as the woman could muster. The woman walked into the bedroom. The bedroom was where she wanted to be. She wanted to be alone in the bedroom. The woman she was, the woman who was going to be alone in the bedroom, which was the bedroom of the woman, Elizabeth. She stopped walking. She did not turn around to face the other way. The woman just stood there, still not looking back at what was. Behind her, the woman, he said that it is better this way, and he said it softly. He told me to trust him when it comes to this thing, the thing that we are talking about, trust him. She went to the bedroom, closed the door, and let the tears finally fall. The next 4 weeks were the loneliest of Elizabeth's life. Alexander left the penthouse before she woke up and came back after she had gone to sleep. They lived in the penthouse apartment, but Alexander and she lived in different worlds. When Alexander and she did run into each other, Alexander was very polite, kept his distance, treating Alexander's roommate, she, like someone he did not know very well. Elizabeth stopped trying. She was done waiting up to see if her husband would talk to her. There were no attempts to have a conversation with him. Elizabeth did things for herself now. She signed up for publishing courses. She met her friends for lunch. Elizabeth built a life that did not revolve around her husband, who was never there. She was sitting in the living room one evening reading a book when Alexander came home. This was earlier than Alexander usually came home. Alexander stopped when he saw her. Surprise went across Alexander's face. He said to me, "You are still awake." I live here." She did not look up from her book. He loosened his tie, looked at her. What is she reading? He thought to himself. Then he asked her, "What are you reading? Does it really matter to us?" It is a question that we have to think about. The thing is, does it matter all? We have to consider what the outcome will be. The question of does it matter is something that we have to look at. Does it matter to the people involved? We need to think about this and figure out if it does matter. Alexander sat down across from her without being asked. "It really matters," Alexander said, looking at her. Alexander wanted to make it clear that what they were talking about was important.
Alexander Lee.
Elizabeth finally looked at him. He was really tired, you could see it in his eyes. They had dark circles under them. His shoulders were all stiff too. But with all that was going on, Elizabeth felt bad for him. Her heart felt funny. The woman said that the book was fiction. She said this in a short way. The book was for a class that the woman was taking. The woman was taking this class. She needed the book for it. What kind of course? I am going to start my publishing company. Publishing is something that I have always been interested in. I think that starting my publishing company will be a great thing for me to do. The publishing company will be my business. I am excited about my publishing company. Something sparked in his eyes. He said, "That is really ambitious. I am feeling really bored. I need something to do because my husband always forgets about me. My husband is always busy. I am just waiting for my husband to talk to me or spend time with my husband. I wish my husband would remember that I am here and I exist." The words hung between Alexander and the other person. Alexander's jaw got really tight. "Elizabeth," she said, "do not." Then she closed her book. "You already made it clear where you stand. This is business. Now, I am doing my business." She got up to go. He grabbed her wrist. This touch made her feel something. The feeling was like a shock. It came from the touch of his hand on her wrist. He said that he had been avoiding the person he was talking to. The person he was talking to was someone he did not want to see or talk to, so he had been staying away from them. He finally told the truth about avoiding the person he was talking to. "I saw something, and it caught my attention, I noticed. Being near you and not being able to touch you is really hard for me." His thumb gently rubbed the inside of her wrist, where she could feel her heartbeat going crazy. That night, our wedding night, it really scared me. Elizabeth's breath caught. She said, "Why?" He stood up. He was still holding her wrist. He stepped closer to her. "I have never lost control like that before," he said. "The reason is that I have wanted you since the moment you walked into my father's house. I have wanted you because you were the woman who was supposed to marry Daniel. I had to watch you and pretend that I did not care about you. I have wanted you for a time, and that is why I lost control now. You said that it meant nothing to you. I am still thinking about what you said about it meaning nothing. The thing is, I do not think it meant nothing. You told me that it meant nothing, and I want to know why you said that. It is hard for me to believe that it meant nothing to you because it meant something to me. I was not telling the truth." His free hand came up to gently hold her face. "I did not tell the truth because if I said what is real, that means I have to say that I need the woman, and I have never needed the woman before." Tears started to form in Elizabeth's eyes. She said, "You hurt me," and it was clear that her feelings were hurt by what the other person did to Elizabeth. The words "you hurt me" came from Elizabeth. They sounded really sad. He knew what he did was wrong. He said, "I am sorry." Then he put his forehead against Elizabeth's forehead. He said, "I am really sorry, Elizabeth." "I love you," she whispered. "I have loved you since that night we met. Even when I was supposed to marry your brother, my heart was always with you. I have to say it. I love you." Alexander's eyes closed. "You should not love me," he said. "I am really bad at dealing with feelings and being in a relationship. I just do not know how to do the relationship thing. You should not love me because I am not good at this. Loving me is not an idea because I do not understand emotions." She pulled back to look at him. "You need to learn," she said. "I am not going to settle for half a marriage. You have to be in with the marriage. If you are not in with the marriage, then I am walking away." From the marriage, he said, "Do not walk," and his voice was shaking a little bit. Then he said, "Please do not walk," and he really meant it. The man wanted the person to stay with him and not leave. He was asking them to stay and talk things over. The words "please do not walk away" came from his mouth again. "Then tell me the truth." All of it. Took her to the couch, and for the time since she had known Alexander Westbrook was totally honest. With her, he started talking to me. Said, "I saw you right away at that dinner. You were really pretty. That was not all. You were nice to Daniel, even when I knew you did not want to marry him. You paid attention when people were speaking. I like that you got really passionate when you were talking to my father about how you love art. You were so cold to me," said to her. "You were going to marry my brother, so I could not let myself have feelings for you." He took her hand in his. "Then my brother Daniel married Sophia. It seemed like maybe something could happen between us. I was really scared. My whole life I have been in charge of everything. Feelings are a mess, and you never know what will happen next. They make you feel weak. That is something I do not like. I do not like it when I am not in control of my emotions, when my emotions are in control of me, like with my feelings. For you, I really do not like being vulnerable. It is a tough spot to be in when you are vulnerable. Being vulnerable is something that you try to avoid at all costs because you hate it much. Vulnerability is not something that you're comfortable with, and you hate being in that position. You hate the feeling of being vulnerable," he said. "Yes." He squeezed her hand. Then they got married, and that night was really something. He could not help himself. He touched her. Everything he had been holding back just came out. It was really overwhelming. He had wanted to touch her for long. Marriage changed things for him and her. That night he touched her. It was like everything came flooding out. The feeling was overwhelming. He was married to her now. That made all the difference. "You pushed me away. I am still trying to figure out why you did that to me. You pushed me away? It really hurt my feelings. I wish you had not pushed me away like that."
I got really scared. I told myself it was my body that I could deal with it. He laughed in a way. "I really cannot do that. Every morning I get up. Leave before you wake up because seeing you in my bed makes me want to stay with you. Every night I come home late because I know you will be sitting on the couch reading and you will look really nice. I will want to kiss you. Elizabeth's heart was beating fast. "What do you want, Alexander?" He looked at her. "Said you, all of you, I want a real marriage." He put his hands on her face. "I love you, Elizabeth. This feeling scares me. I love you, Elizabeth." The words Elizabeth had been waiting to hear for long. Elizabeth kissed him. She put all the feelings she had been holding inside for 3 months into that kiss. This time when Alexander and the woman made love, it was really different. It was slower and deeper, with whispers of promises and declarations of love. Alexander treated the woman's body like it was something precious to him. He told her that he loved her between each kiss. Alexander loved the woman. He wanted her to know that. He kept telling her that he loved her, and the woman felt special when Alexander said that to her. Alexander made the woman feel like she was the person in the world, and that is what made this time so different. After that, Elizabeth and he were all tangled up together in his bed. She drew patterns on his chest with her finger. Elizabeth liked doing this because it made her feel close to him. She kept tracing patterns on his chest, feeling happy and comfortable with him. Elizabeth thought about how she liked being with him, and she drew more patterns on his chest. She wanted to know what was different. Why did he come home tonight from work? At the office she asked him about that. What changed, she said again, and why did he come home tonight? Something big was going on at the office. A big deal was falling apart. A lot of money was on the line. He stroked her hair gently. Normally this kind of thing would be all he could think about. This time it was different. All he could think about was her. He was thinking about coming to her. He did not want to lose her. He kept thinking about the fact that he might lose her. It was really bothering him. The office crisis was bad. Losing her would be much worse. He was thinking about her, the time, about coming home to her and being with her. "You almost lost me because I was about to give up on what you were saying. I thought I was going to stop listening to the things that the person was talking about, which you. The person, which is you, was saying something that made me want to walk from the conversation with you." He held her tight. "I know," he said. He looked at Elizabeth. Said, "I promise you, Elizabeth, this will never happen again." He told Elizabeth that he was finished running. "That is good. Because I am done with all the chasing now." It was a real smile, the first one she had ever seen from him. This smile changed his face, it made him look like a younger person, his face looked lighter. The smile was on the face of him. It was a nice thing to see the smile of him. The morning Elizabeth woke up to the smell of coffee and bacon. It was really nice. She went to the kitchen. Found Alexander there. He was still wearing his pajama pants. He was cooking breakfast. Elizabeth saw that Alexander was making an effort to make the breakfast nice. The smell of the bacon and the coffee was coming from what Alexander was cooking. She looked at me. Said, "You cook?" She really sounded surprised. The woman was totally taken aback by the fact that I can cook. Cooking is something that people do not usually expect from me, so her surprise was pretty normal. The woman asked, "You cook?" I could tell that she was really astonished. "I have a lot of things I can do that people do not know about." He pulled his wife close to him. Kissed her. He said, "Morning, wife." "Good morning, husband." Alexander and Elizabeth had breakfast together. They laughed a lot. They were getting to know each other. It was not just about how they looked. Alexander told Elizabeth about the company he was running. He said it was a lot of pressure. His family expected a lot from him. Elizabeth talked about her publishing house. She loved finding writers. She had dreams for her publishing house. Alexander and Elizabeth were really enjoying each other's company. Alexander said that he will invest in it. "No." She shook her head hard. "I love you. I am building this company myself." Pride was really shining in his eyes. He said, that is my girl. Over the few weeks Alexander and his wife built a real marriage. Alexander came home for dinner every night. They would cook dinner together. Watch movies afterwards. They talked for hours about all sorts of things like their routine and their plans for the future, and sometimes they just talked about nothing in particular. Alexander was there when his wife graduated from her publishing course. He was really proud of her when she said she had signed her first book as an author. Alexander was proud of his wife becoming an author. Elizabeth went to company events with him. She was really good at making investors and partners like her. People looked up to him a lot. Some of them were even a little scared of him. Elizabeth knew the real person behind the boss. She knew the man who brought her coffee when she was still in bed, the man who listened to her when she wanted to talk about the books she read. The man who made her feel like she was the important person in the world when they were together. Elizabeth saw the company events and the investors and partners. She also saw the man who loved her, the CEO. 3 months after they got back together, they had Thanksgiving at the penthouse. The whole family came, including Daniel and Sophia, and their marriage was still going strong even after Harrison was really mad at them at first. Daniel said to Elizabeth that she and her friend seemed happy when they were setting the table. She looked over at Alexander. He was laughing at something Sophia said. "We are," she said. Then she added, really happy, as she smiled at Alexander and Sophia. "I am glad. I always thought he looked at you differently back when we were together with him. He had a way of looking at you that I noticed, and it seemed like he looked at you differently." "He really did that?" Daniel said, "Oh yes, like you were the only person in the room." He was really happy that they found their way to where they were supposed to be. Daniel said, "I'm happy you both found your way," and he looked pretty pleased about it. That night after everyone went home, Elizabeth and Alexander stood by the windows. They looked out at the city. The city was down below them. Elizabeth and Alexander were still standing there together. The man said, "Thank you. It was really sudden." "For what?" He said this to her, "You did not give up on me. You kept pushing me until I could not take it anymore." He turned her to face him. "You loved me when I was not a person, and I did not deserve your love, for the love you gave me the love." She told him that he always deserved it. Then she kissed him softly. She said that he just had to believe that he deserved it. Alexander pulled a box from his pocket. Inside the box was a beautiful diamond ring. This diamond ring was very different from the wedding band that Alexander had given her when they got married in a very ordinary ceremony. Alexander remembered that the wedding band was plain. It did not have any special stones like the diamond ring that Alexander was now holding. The diamond ring was a ring, and Alexander thought it was perfect for the woman he loved, the woman he had married in that business-like ceremony. "This is the ring I should have given you," he said. "I remember when I married Elizabeth Carter Westbrook for love, not because I had to. I am asking Elizabeth Carter Westbrook to stay married to me. I want Elizabeth Carter Westbrook to really be my wife this time." She cried at the same time because she was so happy. She said, "Yes, always yes," with a smile on her face. The man put the ring on the woman's finger. Then he kissed the woman very softly and for a long time. The ring was now on her finger. The man was happy. He was kissing the woman deeply. The woman was happy too. The man and the woman were happy because the ring was on her finger. He said, "I love you," softly against her lips. The man was very close to her when he said this. He was saying it directly to her so she would know that he really meant it. He wanted her to feel the way about him, about the man who loved her. The words "I love you" were said in a quiet voice, a soft voice that only she could hear. "I really love you too. You mean a lot to me. I am so happy that we have each other. I love you." These two people were standing together looking at the city lights. They were supposed to be with people, but that was not what they wanted. The people they were supposed to be with were not the ones for them. Then they found each other, and that was the right thing. The city lights were beautiful. What was really beautiful was that they had found the right love, the love they were meant to have, the love that was meant for them, the love that was the city lights to their lives, the love that was the right thing, for these two people, the right love. Sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected changes.